Hello? Yeah, I'm a little late. 20 minutes or so. Apologies. I went and got my second shot today, so I'm a little behind. I thought it'd be a really good idea to start trimming up some parts of my yard after getting my shot. And yeah, I just ended up being 20 minutes late. Sorry about that. Got anyone left apart from Connor? I assume Connor's still here. Today is day 3 of creating an online base projections model, which we can work from for seasonal projections. Full disclosure, we're actually probably on about day 4 now, because I did a little late night work last night. For reasons. My main one is that I have to speed up. I've been behind this whole off season, not in terms of rookie content necessarily, but more in terms of projections. Like I've taken some time off, you know. And I need to get caught up so I can start pumping those out, and I need to start getting ahead of things. So I had to catch you all up. Like I had to put you on nerd pace. We're going kind of like fake nerd pace, and I boosted it a little bit last night for a few hours. So this stream's probably mostly going to be me catching you up and then re-uploading the base model just to let you know where it's all at. So you can make your own additions and things. We still have some things left to do to it, but at this point I'm populating stats, I'm exporting stats. We've got touchdowns, yards, individual player projections. We got a lot. Give me a second here and I get it pulled up and I'll show you all what I've been working on. As soon as I find my music button. There it is. How's everyone doing? I got to change the banner too. I'm just a mess today. I get it. Day 3, right? Technically, it's day 3. What is it? 13th. Anyone got any questions to start off with while I try and, pretend like I'm a professional and get everything ready? There we go. We got a banner. Look at that. Anyone there? Sorry, Connor, man. I'll open Discord just in case you want to hit in there for a while. Yeah, you're in Discord. All right. So where to start with this shit? That's a good question. So where we left, or where I left off on stream at least, was essentially we had a rough base regression back to the mean using z-scores to try and create a reasonable pie for team projections, right? And that's what's on the link on the Google Sheet right now for everyone to like have and to hold and stuff. All right, yeah, I went a little bit further than that. So I'm gonna have to unfreeze. All right, can you see that roughly? A little bit. According to the comments on my last video, my stream quality is in the toilet again. Yeah, it's just, as far as I can figure, that's just quality of internet I have in this area until I can do better at it. So let's see. I'll start you off over here. Yeah. So what I did is I went through the NFL database that we have on Patreon, or the Patrons have access to, or that is mine. And that's also, I'm going to have a version of it, or at least a player history tab in the online version of it, hopefully that you can keep updating to, do future projections or per game projections. And yeah, I just grabbed a sample of wide receivers who had sufficient volume for year, then year plus N, and then grabbed their target share. And what I essentially did is just do a very quick linear regression model using several factors I thought you all might want to adjust for. This is just mine, and the whole idea is, this was my very quick work as well. The whole idea here is that you're going to do a better job. The more into it you get, you make your own models, you make your own stats and adjustments. But I wanted some way to adjust last year's target share or the player's average target share for predicting the following year. And so I just did a quick linear regression model using age, because I thought you'd all like that. Just so you know, like the actual adjustment for every year is minus minus 0.4%. It's like 0.4%. That's the age adjustment down based on a pretty significant sample of targets for wide receivers. So yeah, age is a little overrated. Let's see. I also use lost target share or vacated target share, as it's often referred to. Again, this is partly back to the video I did most recently, looking that there is some connection between the wide receiver 2's target share if the wide receiver 1 leaves, and so on and so forth. The adjustment is, again, fairly marginal, and I don't really believe in it, but I thought it was a fair variable to put in that everyone would like. And in fact, the model thought so too. It's got a p-value of like 99%, has statistical relevance to the target share for the players still on the depth chart, especially at the wide receiver position. Right there. And so, yeah, that basically works out to 100%. Definitely relevant, apparently. But again, the adjustment itself is like minus 1.9% target share. So again, it actually gives you a slight decrease if you lose more significant target share, which is interesting. And then using the player's average target share, and that's just in the sample I had. So players that had significant volume over at least 2 years. I created an average target share for them, and then their actual target share from the year before. And then I used their ADOCs. I figured we'd want to adjust for role in some small way. And again, that's actually the one the model didn't like the best. You'd actually probably have to do a better job of adjusting for ADOT for future projections and trying to do role. But it was like 81% p-value. So, you know, we'll take it. And ultimately, it spat out this formula, which I'm using to create a projected volume. And so in the player tab, I now have, where is it? I just inserted that formula for all players. Now, notice I was only using wide receivers for a regressed average, I'm calling it. And really, you should create your own for tight ends and running backs and different kinds of wide receiver, bin out the wide receivers of drastically different ADOT. But I'm just looking to create a quick one so we can create a quick base median projection and then work on it for ourselves. And so that's in the player history now tab, as well as the average target share as well. All right, so using that in the current projection model, I import that to the player stats, the player volume stats over here. And as you can see, I've added a lot actually, but it's not as much as it looks like. But in the player volume average or regression, so this is a section that looks up their average usage in the rushing game, receiving game, and passing game. I import that regressed average. So technically, it's actually trying to attempt to predict the following year's projection. But where individual situations also need to be taken into account, we're not trying to create a model, we're trying to create a projection system or a projections model, which is a little bit of a different intellectual exercise. What I'm therefore doing is, where is it? I'm just using an average between the teams target share to that particular player or that particular position on the team and that predicted average. Now, the way you get that is I actually created 2 columns right at the start, which are things you get to decide, essentially. These are your inputs. And the whole impetus for this, by the way, is because I realize we're going to have to go per game, especially where we've got a 17-game regular season now. That's going to become increasingly important for the projections model because all of our stats are season-long, and we have to convert them to per game in order to start predicting a longer season. So that was the impetus. So in this game column here, you can actually decide who's going to play how many fantasy relevant seasons. Now, the way it works, not to get you too twisted, is essentially you're going to try and determine how many games a player is going to have fantasy relevant touches in. That's the way I'm thinking of it. And so when I got down, and that's for a few different reasons, as we'll see, but when I got down to Tampa Bay, for example, which is the one I really started modifying a lot, I ended up giving like Cameron Brate 8 games. Now, I don't have an injury guide or anything or think he's particularly injured, but in terms of the way that team is built, I don't think he's going to turn up actually in the receiving game more than half the games next year. You know, I just don't think he's going to be a relevant factor for most of them. And that helped adjust the overall team volume closer towards what our actual average is. Hey, Nicholas, how you doing, bud? So, yeah, this game column is important and it requires use and your own input. And that also gives you the ability to look at, like, I don't know, who's injury prone. And if you can find someone or you have one for yourself where you want to start to predict the number of games the player is going to get touches in a season, you can start to input that into this game column. Because the whole idea is here we're creating a base unit that you can modify and kind of make your own. So, when we get down to Will Fuller, you can just go on ahead and, take off a suspended game and even, say he's only going to play 8 games, because when has Will Fuller ever played more than that? If you're that way inclined. And that adjusts his whole stats line, because we're predicting his per game stats, and then it multiplies that up into the number of games you say they're going to play to rank them for the full season. That makes sense? All right. Now, that's why I have so many extra columns here, because not only are we importing, efficiency stats, the players' efficiency stats, the stats we think are most associated with them in terms of creating fantasy points, we're also importing the player's volume. These are things that we already had in here, but these were blank at the time, and I'll get to that. Last time I saw you. We're also importing the team stats or adjustments for this situation, and then we were just projecting stats using an average of what we think the team typically does with that type of player, and then what the player has typically done. Now, just taking an average of the two isn't necessarily the best way to go about it, but I think it's a fair way of creating a team-adjusted expectation on player history. And again, we could create regression models for all of this, but there are various different ways of regressing. As you just saw, I'm doing this in target share a decidedly different way than I'm doing regression on a team level. So there are different methods that you can go through. And I kind of want to leave those open to you. I think just taking an average for the team role and then an average for the player's history. And if the player has no history, I'll get to that. But then we use some defaulted averages, or that's the way I go about it. But it's all open. It's fairly easy to adjust. And if you wanted to remove a method and implant another, it would be fairly easy to repopulate the team tab or the player tab with that system that you think is better, or that calculation or that regression formula. And then the whole model would update without you having to do too much work to the actual projection system itself. All right. And so we're actually projecting points per game stats. We're actually projecting per game stats. And to do that, I had to adjust the team volume. So it's the exact same thing, because where all teams play the same number of games, actually, even though all these numbers are different, they're all the exact same in relation to each other, because they just divided them all by 16. And that means we're actually now projecting a per game team rushing attempt per game and team passing attempt per game in the team section. So using this average between team stats and player stats, we're creating per game stats in these columns that we already had ready and set out in the last stream that you saw me in. So instead of projecting, 400 passing attempts, instead it's predicting, in this case, 17.7 pass attempts per game for, I don't know, who is this, Tua? Yeah, Tua. All right. So those are some of the changes. What else have I done? All right. I also had to start projecting some of these stats just to see that everything was working fairly sensibly. So in the per game stats, the things we had already sketched out were like passing attempts, rushing attempts, and targets. So maybe I should do some discussion of how you actually calculate these using some stats. All right. So let's look at the receiving game. That sound good? That's why I've gone per game. That's yeah, Connor, I just said that. that's a whole thing I just said. Vacation targets. Yeah, these are specifically vacation targets, Tenho. None of those nasty vacated targets. All right. Also, welcome to the stream. Where was I? All right, so the stats I prefer to use to project receiving stats, for example, are air yards. They're just stickier and better and more handsome overall. So in the efficiency section for the player, I started importing an average of our player history of Racer. I don't care what you say, Tanho, air yards is not good for running backs. And I've actually done a different adjustment in the base model because it doesn't work for running. It just doesn't work for running back. It doesn't. Running back Racer is ridiculous. So anyway, get to that. So what it's doing, this formula up here in this this racer column player efficiency tab, is looking up the average for that particular player using their ID here at the start if they had more than 50 touches. And all these little columns at the top, these are touch boundaries or year boundaries. So basically, essentially, how long you want the average should be calculated from and how many touches the players in the sample have to have had. And I'm using raw touches as well. So it's just passing attempts, rushing attempts, and targets. And so you can use a whole bunch of different filters, but I wanted to keep it relatively simple so you didn't have to memorize what these little adjustable things are at the top. They're always touches or they're always since that year. And they should be really easy to identify between them. So if you move the touches boundary up to 100, it starts counting every season they played with getting more than 100 touches and their average racer. All right, I'm going to move that back down to 50, though, for average reasons. All right. Now, if they don't have a history, like if they're a rookie, obviously they have no history, or if they just don't have multiple seasons with 50 touches in, it's going to cause an error. And so to adjust for that, I actually put in an if-error formula and had it look up either a positional average or a yearly average. And I've got all those calculated in this handy little tab we already had created for us, just looking at an average. And inside the average tab, you can see how I'm calculating that. I'm just using the average for the position for that player's stats with a certain number of touches. So again, you could adjust that if you wanted to use a slightly different average. And if a player doesn't have enough history or as a rookie, it's just using an overall positional average. And you, like in my actual projections model, I've got different averages that it can look up for rookies, like rookies in year one, if they're drafted in the first round or the second round or the third round. But ultimately, it's a lot of make work, to be honest with you, especially since you can adjust these, as I'm going to show you, as you want. All right. So you also need ADOT, but I'd already imported that already because I was trying something different with a team stat. But again, it's looking up the average as long as I've had 20 stats, or it looks up a positional average. Okay, so how'd you create like receiving yards using those stats? Since we're already predicting volume, so targets, to get receiving yards, you multiply targets by racer by ADOT, and that actually creates a projection for receiving yards. So again, I wrote the formula up here because I realized some people might actually know the formula. So I had to create receiving yards using air yards and targets, and that's the formula. It's just targets times racer times ADOT. Make sense so far, 10? All right, by myself, it's fine. All right, so we're now creating receiving yards using that formula with the imported player efficiency. Now, like I just said, it's looking up an average when it doesn't have any other things to go on, but then it might not always be better. One, you could create a better method of creating that average, but the other thing is you're going to find with something that's not a regression model, but it's actually a projection engine, you're going to find that constantly, that in this individual situation, the average just doesn't make sense. Like Julio Jones playing with Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Hopkins, it's not going to work, or whatever team fictional scenario you want to come up with. So what I put in are these override columns, trying to make it as simple as possible. But if you wanted to say that this player here is actually going to have a perfect racer, then you can just put it at 1, and it will switch that average that it's looking up to a 1, because it looks up that first, or it should. Did I write that formula wrong? Yes, I did. Okay, I got to switch that out. But yeah, that's what the override column does. You can individually decide what those stats are going to be if you need to make adjustments because the average or the player history isn't working for you. There we go. Now, I'm not going to make any of those for you, obviously, because I'm trying to create an engine that creates a decent projection before you make all your own minor assumptions. So you also have this override section just in case you ever need to change anything or the average, or you can put your thumb on the scale at any point at any stat for any player. And that's useful, believe it or not. All right. All right. So the other thing that it needs input from you is the depth chart. This is creating positional averages based on, in that team section, based on where you think they fall on the depth chart. Now, the way to think about the depth chart is just who you think gets more touches overall. That's it. It's not who you think's the best player or who you think is just the bee's knees or the worst player in the world. If you think a player gets more touches than the other guy, then you rank them higher. You can also kind of play merry hell with it, especially for teams that have just too many receiving options right now, like Baltimore, for example. So for the wide receivers, there are just too many. They're not going to go into the season with that many. And so instead of having just ranking them 1 to, what would it be? 1 to 8. Instead, I just put 2 players at the exact same position on the depth chart, or I could have 3 for that matter. They're all around 6. I don't care. And so you can jimmy their role on the team that way as well. And that creates a different team average. If they're wide receiver 3 on the team, they get a different team history in terms of target share used for the wide receiver 3 to adjust their positional average, their player average. And so this game column and this depth chart column are things you need to put inputs into. I have some base ones in here, just as I've been tinkering with it. But these are things you have to decide as you're making projections. Who's the tight end one in Cleveland? I think it's Austin Hooper. But if you think it's going to become Hunter Bryant this year, finally, then you can switch them on the depth chart, and they get entirely different projections based on what you think of that. Who's going to get more touches that year, using fairly decent averages for the team and also the player history. All right. Next was rushing yards. Believe it or not, for rushing yards, I still use yards per carry. It's looking up the same average for the player or positional average if it doesn't have an average for the player. And obviously, rushing yards are just yards per carry times rushing attempts, and we already took care of rushing attempts in the last stream. So that one was fairly easy to populate. Interceptions, I therefore had to go get the same positional average and player average in terms of interception rate, multiply that by passing attempts, and it created interceptions. That's a fairly simple one as well. Let's do touchdowns next, I guess. For receiving touchdowns and rushing touchdowns, what I essentially did was look at yards per touchdown, because it's a really easy stat. You don't need a complicated data set or have to be behind a paywall anywhere to update that data in the future or modify it. It also makes fairly good intellectual sense without a good history of stats. He's going to catch 1 touchdown per 100 yards. You know what that makes sense. Know what that sounds like. Less than 1 a game for sure, unless they're 100 yards a game player, so on and so forth. Now, also to help guide you, you have the player history tab, so you can go and look it up. Because again, I calculated this for every player in the database, going back to whenever this data set goes to. But also, again, I created an average for the position, yards per touchdown in the passing game, rushing game, and receiving game. So you can see the average for wide receivers with at least 100 touches is around 190 yards before they get a touchdown. That's the average. Obviously, Devontae Adams exists an extreme example to that average. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got like Nelson Aguilar, who can catch 400 yards and never get a touchdown, as far as I'm aware. Nelson Aguilar. We'll call Beasley for that matter. Anyway, and so that can provide you some level of guidance. If you just want to create one of those overrides for their touchdown rates, you can get an idea of, what's a good and what's a bad touchdown rate. Okay. So because we're already projecting rushing yards and receiving yards, using yards per touchdown across those 3 phases of the game, it becomes fairly simple to project per game touchdowns, because you just divide that rate by the number of rushing yards you think they're going to have on a per game basis, and it creates a touchdown projection for their rushing touchdowns and the receiving touchdowns. So yeah, that's fairly simple as well. And we're just using player or positional average history for that so far. I mean, you could import team stats if you wanted to, but we still have some things left to do here, believe it or not, which includes trying to incorporate strength of schedule, which is what we'll get to hopefully towards the end of the stream. All right, what else I got in here for you? Oh, I moved the volume as well, so it's easier to see. You don't have to scan quite so far along before you can see the level of volume they're getting in the 3 phases of the game, because I found that more useful. Quarterback stats. Quarterback stats, at least the way I build it, works slightly differently. I use, obviously, we've already talked about how we're creating volume, so I don't have to go over that again. But I essentially say the quarterback is generated by the players. So I've got a formula in the passing attempt stats, or the passing yards and passing touchdown stats, which essentially sum up everyone on their team on a per game basis. And so it's very much looking at the upside, since that's just a per game basis. And some of those players aren't going to play full games. That's the whole reason we're building it this way. But that's what it's doing. It's looking at the number of touchdowns scored per game and the number of receiving yards scored per game based on these positional averages that we're using in the database to create the quarterback's overall stats. And so the quarterback is essentially created as a function of the skill position players on the team, because that's how it works. That's just how that works, believe it or not. You could go top end down. I've seen projection engines that do it that way, and I know some people like to go that way, or even see quarterback as independent, but I like all the jigsaw puzzle pieces to fit together. I like it when all the stats add up to the same numbers, and so I work it that way. Yeah, that one's dead. All right, I think that's all the stats. Yeah. Essentially, I just filled out the columns we had blank in terms of projecting the seasonal stats on a per game basis. And then I multiplied that by the game numbers you're actually going to be able to input. So if they're going to play 16 games, they get those per game stats multiplied by 16, or however number of games you think they're going to play. And that way you can play floor and ceiling projections at the same time, or at least some level of it. All right. Yeah, so basically I filled it out and added a few more columns that you can put inputs in that should create reasonable projections in and of itself, but then you can put the thumb on the scale at any given point. Also, this injury column works now. So if you type a 1 in the injury column, it just nulls their values out, and should, yeah, on the per game stats, I have to fix that. It should just turn their values into 0 as well. That's not overly interesting or useful in a seasonal projection model, but it's really useful when you get to weekly. So we're going to input it here early. The other thing I've added is this export tab. This updates automatically, because one of the difficulties with doing this is you want to share them and you want to explore them, but you don't always want to sort the raw data with all the active formulas, because it slows down your machine, to be honest, sometimes. And so this automatically updates. I've got it looking up the stats for quarterback 1 to 32, and you could add in extra here if you want to see what the depth quarterbacks are doing. And also running backs 1 to, and this is season long rank, 75, wide receivers 1 to 100, I think, and tight ends 1 to 40. And so you don't have to sort this. You can just copy and paste it and then create a new tab or a new folder, and this will always be updating. So I found this really good visual look, because I kept looking over here and finding quarterbacks like, Tom Brady at the top. What's going on there? He's getting 50 passing touchdowns, so something's going wrong with my average, and I had to go back and figure out what was wrong with it from there. All right, so that export tab I actually think is going to be pretty useful. If you want to use them or filter them or share them in any way, copying and pasting from here is going to be pretty useful. It's looking up the season-long stats, but you could also add in those points per game stats, as I would probably have to if I was going to send these anywhere as well. But it's just looking up the season-long projections based on your games played input and the per game stats that are projecting amped up to your expectation of how many fantasy relevant games are going to play. All right, last thing I've got in the end here, well, not the last thing, but one thing I've got in the end here, which I guess I should put in a different color just to highlight it for you all, is this historical average. I included this position rank formula, and this is something that Tanho actually wants to create his own projection system just using this, which I think you could go on acid on, by the way. I keep thinking of doing that, but anyway. It's got the points per game in PPR scoring for every positional rank, for fantasy relevant players at least, and 1 to 32 for quarterbacks, for example, in season long ranks. And it's also got this 3-year average in this column right here. So essentially what this is doing is it's looking up the average points per game for the quarterback one over the last 3 seasons. Then it's seeing how well it compares to your current quarterback one. And so it's just a nifty visual look for if you're over or under projecting any particular positional rank. And so you can see right now my quarterbacks ranked 22 to 32 are a little under projected. Apparently my running backs ranked 1 to, I don't know, 1 to 8 might need a little boost. I'm being a little unfair with their overall usage. Or there are some running backs I should elevate from lower down the depth chart by 1, adjusting their expected efficiency, their expected volume, or their place on the depth chart, or the number of games they're going to play to push them up in the ranks to make that look a little bit more normal, perhaps. But it's just a fun self-check. And in fact, one thing we're going to have to get to before we finish this stream series is how to put in some interesting little self-checks on yourself. One I've started to put in here is points per opportunity, which is a thing that I was using to fact check my ranks for player profile last year pretty much every week by looking up their average points per opportunity and what I'm projecting, because this is something that shouldn't be drastically out of turn to what they've done in the past. No matter what kind of role you're projecting them for, they should be pretty close, especially when you're looking at seasonal projections like this, to what they've got in the past. So you see Cordero Patterson is almost 1-to-1, and none of them are overly exaggerated, except for maybe Hunter Bryant, because he doesn't have much of a history, though, to be fair. But again, I'm not adding that into yours just yet because we haven't talked about it on stream, but I've got it ready. Other things I've added in here. No, I think that's about it. I mean, I'm calculating points per game, ranks, and points per game stats. I'm also amping those up to season-long projections using an expected number of games they're actually going to play, or at least record fantasy-relevant stats in, which is an input you can change at any time. Also, it's pretty important to sketch out the depth chart how you see fit. Also, I noticed a few other players that were on the wrong teams. For example, forgot that Carl Rudolph had moved to the New York Giants, for example. So I had to move him over to the New York Giants. Yep. I've also got career year in here, which is just a good data point to have in case you want to create any different kind of regression models or projection systems on different stats. But again, I can't emphasize enough, once you start digging into this, you find that age and career year, really, there's not much expectation of a fall. There just never is. Despite how strongly we feel about it in Dynasty. All right, which is awkward for Julio. And so what I did with Julio was just project him for a low number of games. Yeah, I projected him to play 14 games, which might even seem a little strong to you. Be the wide receiver 1 on the depth chart when he's on the field, but only be on the field for 14 games. And that creates a much more reasonable position rank of like position rank 8 instead of position rank 1. I think that's fairer. But again, you can project him for fewer games. You can also adjust his personal volume down if you just believe in the age curve so drastically that you want to project him for like 5% of targets. You can actually override all of this and just type 5% into his target column right here. Which reminds me, I'm just going to fix all that to make sure that's working right. See, that's not the right one. Yeah, because I kept adding columns without back checking my formulas. I've moved some things. Whoops. Easy fixes, though. That one's right. That one's right. Racer is correct now. Yards per touchdown. Yards per target. Oh, yeah, I forgot to tell you about the running back thing. Hang on. Oh yeah, I'm not including it. That's why. I've got to tell you how I'm projecting receiving yards for running back. I gotta add in the touchdown one because apparently I didn't put that condition in there. Not a problem. So that's the first thing it looks up. Is there an override? If not, do the formula. If there is an override, just use whatever you type into the override section. Well, that's how I handle that. Let's add one in for interceptions. That could be a thing you'd want to modify. Oh yeah, I forgot to do my hey, hello. If you're watching on Twitch, you should know I can't see any of those notifications because StreamYard doesn't allow the functionality. But thank you, I appreciate it, just in case you're doing that. Watching on YouTube, what up, YouTube? Now I've got to make sure the volume is correct. That's projected team volume. Got any questions? Let me know. I just got to finish updating these formulas I was just telling you about. There we go. I can get this set up. I can update the online version of it for you guys to play with. What else was I going to fix? Where's the IDs? Don't need any of this. You need that, you need that, you need that. Damn it. Deleted something. Yuck. A dot. Okay. Oh, running back. Right. Yeah. Because Racer and A yards suck for running back so hard, essentially what I was using is yards per target. And if it's running back, it just defaults to yards per target instead of trying to use A yards. Simple answer. That's why there's a yards per target column in here. Damn it. I gotta limit the amount I'm uploading. One, to keep it simple, and two, damn it, so I can upload it to Google Sheets, basically. Can I use this, leave this regressed formula in here? Put things in there for you. Oh, no, it's right there. We're good. Looks like everything's still working. Well, not quite. Oh, no, we're good. All right. Oh, crap. That's what disappeared. Okay. All right. Let's get that uploaded for you all. Getting pretty close to being able to make some projections here. Scary thought. Where'd everyone go? Everyone go back to work or something? Huh. What are these errors about? Don't tell me you can't do that. You've done it before. Mm-hmm. Don't tell me Google Sheets can't support an if formula anymore. Mm-hmm. Don't know. Actually, I don't know what's going on there. Oh, passing yards disappeared. Okay. Wasn't looking up. Rushing attempts. Oh, it's because I deleted the rushing attempts again. All right. Back to the drawing board. Move some of this stuff around a minute. Gotta import it back in. There it is. Welcome. Now points should be fixed, right? Neat. Just gonna hide behind my screen over here. No. Don't know what everyone's talking about, by the way. He said cockily. My arm doesn't hurt at all. Appreciate all your help building this thing, by the way, guys. Really a lot. Could be to do with my random stream times in the middle of the day. Who knows? Still? What's broken now? A dot. Oh, mother fudger. Okay. This is why you keep IDs everywhere. So it's always easy to go catch the data that you forgot to include. I'm using an index match formula to just re-import data I forgot to include in your version of it. We're trying to make it not overwhelming. Working on my raw. Do that. Don't you do that? See her. Nice from little hornbills for a start. All right, everyone happy now? You dastardly dastards. I want to show you all I was working with strengths of schedule. I just need the NFL schedule to turn up on Pro Football Reference. And we can have a pretty, well, the half-assed, half-decent strength of schedule thing I produce. Positional specific, too. That's what all those RotoViz downloads are about. Wait to be careful. No, not again. Surely not. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to hide the export tab. You guys know it's there. The averages I'll hide as well, just to make it nice and neat. All right, neat. Oh, what? Oh, no, that's fine, maybe? Oh, it's Cleveland. Yeah, we got work to do in Cleveland if we want to make this thing work. Projecting way too many Russian attempts and targets. Let me freeze a few things here for ease of view. First two are to come. Nope. Google Sheets, you're so much more confusing. All right. I would really strongly recommend color code. I'm trying to keep the color code, like the decoration I do, off, but it's so much more useful so you can skip around knowing what everything is at a glance. But I'm trying to leave it blank for you all to kind of impart your own thing, you know? Maybe put some formatting in here. This is ridiculously blank. You don't think you'll miss the functionality of Excel until you don't have it anymore. Okay. It's now not, at least not blank, you know? Oh, I also put it in fun little color coding for the teams. I know you hate it, but I did it. You run out of different variations of blue, by the way, real quick. New England's pretty hard to see. All right. I'm posting the link in the chat so you all have access to the newly updated, but it's in all the video descriptions as well if you're on YouTube. That's the one I'm constantly updating, so when we get done, this can just kind of sit here, be available for anyone who wants to tinker. All right. So strength of schedule. I still don't have in my head yet how we're going to create a basic idea of how to use strength of schedule to adjust our projections, but I want to show you what I've basically been using to do it anyway. Especially if Pro Football Reference can post the NFL schedule sooner rather than later, we'll be on to a winner. All right, so this is Pro Football Reference, just in case you've never been there before, you should. Under the season-long tab, you can basically grab the schedule and results. And I'm looking for this to populate. Oh, we did. Neat. We can actually get something done today. 1 second. I'll need to reformat everything, but and I've got to show you this one because I can't give it to you because it uses a lot of data that you can't have, damn it. But you could collect. Anyway, where am I? Here it is. So what I do is I use last year's schedule mapped on the PPR points scored by position. So if you get a history of PPR points scored by week by position, personally I'm using RotoViz, but you could hand copy it from Pro Football Reference and a whole bunch of other places. And then you can use last year's schedule to map on what points were scored against which defense in each week by position as well. And then it maps out this year's schedule. So I've got to update this for 2020 to show you basically a rough grid of the type of offenses they were facing based on if they were allowing or not allowing more or less fantasy points to individual positions on a week-by-week basis from the previous year. So it's going to be easier to see if you can actually see it. So I'm going to have to go grab this schedule here. People underrate copy and paste. Apparently, this is the new NFL schedule. There we go. $17 columns versus 7. So I have some to add. Okay. Weekday date. Weekday date. Time, then team. I don't have time over here, so I'll just add a blank one. Time, team, then abbreviation, I'm guessing. Yep, and then the at, which is same. Oh no, you've got a points. Okay, well, I'm just going to move that. And we've got an at column, home team abbreviation, and then I want to designate that they're home or away. So home team and 2 abbreviation. Because you could also adjust this to points scored at home or away and be pretty well off. Oh no, different. So I've got it set up to be to work with this format, and so I have to reformat that schedule to fit it. That's what I'm working on right here. 12, 14. Weekday date, and then I've got a time column, which I don't need. Team abbreviation points. Don't have that. Okay. At home abbreviation points, which we're not going to have, obviously. Time, day, home and away. Nice. Then yeah, okay, so we got it. That should work. Why do I have so much Jeff Buckley on this damn playlist? Click a button one time, you know? Yeah, that's what I want to listen to. Kill myself music. I mean, come on. Thank you. I miss Google Music. Thank you. Mm. Mm. Oh man! Now I gotta reverse the whole thing so I can see the away teams. Oh man! I just want to test this is working. There you go. Dallas versus what? Dallas and Tampa. Week 1. Okay. Tampa versus Tampa isn't really the look we're going for there. All right, so like week 8, frickin' Cleveland versus Pittsburgh. Well, except for the fact I got this reversed, yeah. All right, we got next year's schedule already. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Neat. Mm-hmm. So based on last year's points against quarterback, this is the schedule the Browns are facing, basically. Cheap perfume. Let me just fact check this. So let's see. Dallas are facing Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. Nope. What have I done wrong there? Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Philadelphia. Yay, it's working. And so what it looks up is the PPR score, points scored by that position, by that defense they're facing that week, And then if it was over or under the average against that position every week. And from that, we can create an average over and under, an average over and under points per game, and then rank them by position. And then we create a strength of schedule like this. Neat. Oh, hey. Okay. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they died spectacular deaths. Vacated targets don't exist. I mean, they don't exist by definition. They're no longer things that exist. What was this I was working on? Oh, points per game projections based on the average and the defenses they're facing, literally. Let's get a little literal with it. It's a game F. Little low. Seahawks look like they got a rough schedule. Like it's below average across the board. Make her cry. Everybody. Seahawks schedule sucks, man. Who are they facing? Tough early schedule, too. Wow. Mm-hmm. Crossover, how you doing? Ah. That's my thought. What do you mean by teammate score would be my question. I think it doesn't make a damn bit of difference who your teammates are if you're not exceptionally good. That's my default position. So I don't really care if all you've got is Nelson Aguilar's on your team or fucking Laquan Treadwell's. Everyone just gets no fantasy relevant volume unless there's someone good enough to co-op fantasy relevant volume. So outside of the extremes, it will probably have some level of marginal use. But I think it's like to steal an Amico expression, I'm not sure the juice is worth a squeeze, and it would be harder to read than you might initially assume. Like it's easy to make bad assumptions. Easier teammate score doesn't necessarily mean easier breakout. You're going to have some assessment on the players, and honestly, that assessment on the players is probably going to be a greater path towards any relevance. People aren't going to like these numbers. I need it just to rank them, don't I? All right. Okay. We're going to strength of schedule working. Oh, you can barely see shit around here. All right. This is sorted by wide receiver schedule. Essentially, I'm just looking at whether their opponents this year, the average points above or below league average. wide receivers scored against them the previous year. Like the Rams, San Francisco, Carolina, New England, Jacksonville. New England. How well did we do with this last year? That's the other question, isn't it? How's this arm hurting? The shot was in the other one. Another one bites stuff down. Last year it said Green Bay had the number 1 wide receiver schedule. Sounds kind of accurate. I mean, that would have been nice to know. Also said Chicago did, but okay. New Orleans, Michael Thomas went down. What you gonna do? The Rams. It always likes the Rams schedule. They're in just the easiest place. Seahawks, okay. Detroit, Arizona, all right. Who did it hate? Baltimore. That makes sense. Miami, kind of adds up from last year. Houston, no Hopkins, but they did it right. Inaccurate. Tennessee, okay, but they lost AJ Brown. Pittsburgh, that doesn't add up. No, that's tight end. Places. Oh, no, did it right. Like Detroit's running back schedule last year. And also like Jacksonville, so. Didn't like the Rams, Arizona, Seahawks, adds up, Buffalo. Okay, but this is team usage. The way it sounds good. New York, okay, we lost Saquon. Seattle, Washington, sorry. Antonio Gibson did okay, though. Kansas City. We got backdated excuses for Clyde Edwards-Helaire going on here. Myles Gaskin did okay, though. And these will only be really relevant to the first 4 games of the season anyway, so. It did okay. And this year, that was last year. Really likes New England, receiver-wise. Da, 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 da. Might redo this one time to just look at a rushing and a receiving schedule rather than a positional schedule. Like expected points to positions instead of expected points to rushing or receiving instead of actual points to positions. That'd be interesting. See, if I was good at this right now, I'd be hyping up. I know these are the teams with the best schedules for these positions, but this is strength of schedule should mostly be side-eyed, if anything. All right, let's see it. Atlanta has a middling schedule for tight ends, so that's Kyle Pitts' future right there, apparently. Average. The opponents they are up against this year average allowing 12 points per game to the entire position. New England, on the other hand, oh shoot. Speaking of Henry and Jonah, Detroit, Carolina, Minnesota. All right. Kansas City had the worst. Okay. Points against didn't do us too well at tight end last year. Always fun to look at, never worth paying attention to. Strength of schedule. What are you going to do? Patrons might find that fun. Do you think, guys, you want to see a strength of schedule based on PPR points against for the offenses players are facing this year? I can clean this up so you can see the schedule as well. Gonna find a way to apply this directly to player stats, but for now it's just a little bit of fun information. All right. Oh, ideally, though, we'll find a way to build that into the stream projection model. If we adjust expectations for the first 4 games. Not make it too complicated for everyone. Me someday, blood on your face. Okay, really like Chicago last year. That's not a great look. Ugh. I actually think the team's a better way to go through this, by the way, but I think we'll just leave it on the league average for now. Baltimore? No, it's got a pretty decent schedule this year. Before I met you, baby. I was alone. Yeah, right. You gotta love conditional formatting. Makes everything understandable. Yeah, I wish I hadn't just done that, actually. The team, whether you're over or under the team's average, is actually much more interesting to me instead of just defaulted to the league average. Oh, I don't want to save this all again. I'm actually a little obsessed with conditional formatting. Now you say it, I can't not see it. But thanks for that. I'm looking at the 2020 strength schedule based on PPR points again. That's the way here. We will step aside. I enjoy the pretty colors. I don't know what to tell you, man. Oh, I think I'm on a podcast tonight. I was just, sorry, weird thought, but I was like, man, that was really low energy. It's a good job I'm not on a podcast. And then I was like, oh, wait, I think I'm on a podcast tonight. So I guess I better find energy. And now I'm a little casual. Yeah. Like, just be chilling on my barely watched streams. Okay, yeah, I was gonna send this version to Patreons, or at least post it somewhere if anyone was interested. But I'm really interested in this team average all over again, so we're redoing it. I think it's interesting as far as strength of schedule things go. Anyway, yeah, for sure. You don't need this in here. Yeah, too big. Hey, Jojo. Love you, man. Appreciate it. I only see in error bars at this point. The little I've gotten really tired of this conditional formatting. I love these error bars, and it might be only because I can't get them in Google Sheets. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I'm secretly in love with them, or not so secretly. How you doing, Jojo? The hell are you doing online looking at a fantasy football stream at 4 p.m.? Shouldn't you be like out there living your best life or something? Look, I did a load of 2021. Nice. Are you gone already? I'm not surprised. It is 4 p.m. This is a very boring nerd fantasy football stream. Fake nerd fantasy football stream. So really, who cares? It's just not as pretty without error bars. It's really not. Google Sheets should get on that. But shut streets. Wow, look at all that formatting. Wow. Be some light. got to get a taller chair, man. It's starting to hurt. Bits of heaven. Just turned into a Patreon stream, but I have to build that to get it into my projection model. So, never gone. I should not sing on stream. I'm going to stop that right now. Cut that shit out. All right. So where are we? 2021 strength of schedule. Let's look at this. Bring it over here. I had a little column all ready for it. Where'd it go? Last thing I see is my heart still beating, beating. Write several index match formulas for this one. That'll be fun. comes before K? Oh, jeez. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I. Algebra's easy, bruh. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, okay, maybe it's not easy. I kid. Combining formulas with if just gets fucking tedious, to be honest with you, at a certain point. Look at me lean into my monitor. This is look at the grinding. I'm grinding so hard. Oh, my life. What? Oh, okay. I forgot a freaking comment, really? All right. Serious face. Conditional formatting, baby. Bigger is worse. Bigger is worse. Bigger is worse. No, bigger is worse. That's like the opposite of what I wanted. There we go. Hey, now we got some measure of strength of schedule. Apparently Arizona's quarterback schedule sucks. Well, that's not fun. But the running back schedule just freaking rocks. Too much conditional formatting. It can be a bad thing, you know. Pick and choose what you want to conditionally format. That's what I say. Ah, crap. Complain about not having Excel functionality, then you screw up Excel functionality. What's that about? Just getting too much of a whitewashed block of text. We gotta fix this. All right. Oh God, Lord. This is meant to be an adjustable chair, and it's not. Okay, let's give me a break. My shoulder actually hurts from constantly using my mouse this high. It's just slightly too elevated, you know. Hey, you're not here asking questions. I can talk about whatever I want. All right. So we could just, since it's PPR points, we could just go point by point. As in, this is the adjustment we can apply to their PPR points based on their strengths of schedule. They're marginal. They're between -1 and 1. But it might be enough to rank players a little better, you know? You could also incorporate strengths of schedule in a whole bunch of different ways across player stats, but no, as a base model, we really want that included. Okay, let's take a look at what we're getting. 1984 J. If you're wondering why Patrick Mahomes doesn't rush to the top of a quarterback list, me too. I was wondering the same thing last year. Their stats are weird. It's not. It doesn't really show up in volume, and it doesn't really show up in extreme efficiency. It just is, and it's really difficult to get Mahomes at the top of a list without boosting something. And I know that's not real. I don't like that, but we actually have quarterback points left over in that, we can actually boost them up a little bit. But what's missing here? 4,500 passing yards is really good. Sean Watson and Russell Wilson are obviously over projected right now. That's why they're hitting the top. So's Mayfield by the look of him too. But how am I still learning on my first cup of coffee? Occupied 1985. Don't sing on stream, Jesus, Pete. Gonna get yourself canceled. And when I hear that voice, I'm done for. Give it a minute. It's trying to filter a table, okay? Patrick Mahomes really been playing for 4 seasons already. Does not feel like it. I am getting old. Yeah, last year he had 4,700 yards. 4,700. There you go. Had 5,000 2 years before that, but in between, he's got this weird 4,000 year. Like 4-5 is not a bad projection given that history, you know? Passing touchdowns 27. That's where we're a little shy, probably. All right. Let's see if there's something going wrong, or if that's just, well, you got to project team. Oh, we're short. We're short of some targets. Look at that. We're missing 27 targets. I mean, we can boost Kelsey, I guess. The strength of schedule isn't exactly great, though. The 8 touchdowns, 1,300 yards for Kelsey. That's healthy. 8 and 1,200 for Hill. That's healthy. I don't know there's anyone else. I mean, maybe Clyde Edwards-Helaire. But I'm assured he couldn't possibly, be good. But I think his touchdowns are a little underrated here. Receiving yards per touchdown, 297 seems a little high. Average is 108. Okay, so. Okay. But the formatting on the column's wrong. Too much conditional formatting. Jojo, he's got my number, man. He saw that coming before I did. Also, he's just not getting a lot of targets. 10% target share. Sounds like a vague threat from 1 week, though. Anyone know Clyde Edwards-Helaire's target share from last year? No? No? I do, but Excel wants a minute to think about it. How many times did you crash Excel today? It's about my fourth. Oh, there he is. Yeah, I had about 11% target share last year. Seemed a little low, you know? Mm. 4 targets per game. This year we're projecting 4 targets per game. What's his efficiency look like? 5 yards per target. Oh, I screwed it up. That's why. Targets times. No, that's right. Rushing yards aren't great either, are they? Mm-hmm. God dang it. So who's missing touchdowns, you know? Mahomes has got 27 passing touchdowns projected, but when you look at the team, I don't. Oh. It's a weird thing about Kansas. The stats just don't add up to the actual results. Eight touchdowns is pretty good for Kelsey. I know they're playing 17 games, Connor. I've got them set at 16. By the way, just so their stats look normal, so I know how well I'm doing. I'm not used to a 17-game schedule. Easy enough to change now. Yeah, I think everyone else above him's just over projected at this point. Mm-hmm. That'll be useful, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gonna look up the team stats from the previous year. That would be a handy thing to be able to quick reference. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. More passing touchdowns, please. Light of day. Wow. Yes, last year was elevated, wasn't it? Wow, we had so many teams with 40 passing touchdowns last year. There's so many. Whew. But KC is normally one of them. All right. Uh, Anyway, it's a working model right now. You just got to tweak it for a few things I want to tweak. I don't want over projections to happen so commonly. You got four quarterbacks just way too elevated. We need more depth on Kansas City too. How's running back looking? Okay, Kamara, settle down, you know? Yeah, looks like rushing's being under projected. That's why he's so high. That's a common thing with my models. Have to pay attention to the rushing yards. Rushing touchdowns, especially. Wow, it really likes Nick Chubb. Jesus. Derrick Henry. Okay, buddy. Yeah, he's a free agent now. Knew it. Still got to fix all my depth charts. All right. Wow. Jeff Jew, look at you go. Yeah, Rams have a problem. No. Yeah. Where'd Kittle? Oh, there's Kittle go. Yeah, I'd say we're close. We're gonna keep adding to it with the strength of schedule and some other stuff, but we're pretty close to the base system working by itself. We'll keep tweaking. Mm-hmm. 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 There really is no running back two in Baltimore, in Buffalo. Running back one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where's Nick Foles now? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to manually do that shit. Actually, that should be able to update by itself. Come on now. What the hell is this music, by the way? Wow. Yeah, they've had problems, huh? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's something we have to fix as well. Quarterbacks with a lack of history just aren't getting projected for their full percentage of passing attempts. So it's just. I know how to fix that. You get to add things when you're just so used to them being there, you know? This is a problem. Where's the games column? Yeah, that ought to fix it. See, if one quarterback one's getting 60% of the passing attempts because he only started halfway through the season, then who's bringing the average down too far? So we'll include a games threshold. That means we can take out this. There we go. Then we don't have to make adjustments for that kind of thing. Need to include that in the player column as well. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, better. Oh, hey, buddy. Oh, no, I'm good. Thanks, though. Do I look like like that's in my gold tree? All right, I'm gonna get off. I think in the least sexual manner possible. Yeah, it's still got some work to go. And I have to get back to my own pretty soon. But I think we got, I don't know, 2 more streams, and I think this is locked in as creating decent projections before you put any input yourself. Whether we'll be able to add strengths of schedule adjustments or any more regression formulas to help better predict the future, I don't know. At this point, we're kind of spot checking, and we're finding failures in our averages and readjusting them. That's where we're at. And you can make decisions based on how many games people are going to play and where they're actually going to fit on the depth chart. And if anything seems off, you can literally manually adjust it any way you want, which I think is a good starting point, at least, without having to done too many of your own projections or regression problems. I'm a little upset with the number of, base thresholds we have to add in, but honestly, that's just because there are just so many conditions you have to take account of. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but you don't want averages that take into account certain players, like we were just looking at with those passing attempts. One quarterback gets 60%, and suddenly your quarterback one's projected for 50% instead of 97%. I'm trying to automate as much as possible. We're still getting pretty reasonable projections for upside QB2s on teams, Vandy Dalton gets some starting time because of an injury. You want him projected higher than, freaking Will Greer. I think that works to do that. Still got to manicure our depth charts, but, kind of leaving a lot of that work to yourself. I still think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been done a little dirty with his efficiency. Travis Kelce is a little underprojected. Those are some of the adjustments I'd make just from the averages, but which probably means we need to adjust harder or need to not adjust as hard for outliers. What's going on with Jalen Camp here? Oh, okay. The adjustment we just made left someone out. We'll just zero them out for now. That can obviously use some work. Pretty sure Devin Funches isn't injured already, right? Nope, not injured yet. Cool. Indianapolis has definitely got way too much going on in the rushing game right now. Well, not enough, actually. Wow. Okay, so not enough rushing attempts being given. Whoa. Where's that not coming from? No, that's definitely too many rushing attempts. Oh, yeah. We're giving too much to Mac on account of he's got a decent history. He's playing that handy-dandy backup role. And just works out kinks like that pretty easy, doesn't it? I've got Deshaun Watson listed as only playing 14 games because of the uncertainty in this season. I think he'll play full season, but I thought that was a fair starting point. Yeah, Kansas City needs work. Or the problems inherent in Kansas City's, like those extreme outliers under and over. We're not adjusting for them enough yet. The average is too strong. Isaiah Crowell, is he still in the league? No. That would be a huge negative. Theoretic as well. I forgot they picked up all these guys. He's still on the team. Yeah, it's because we got Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs. Make of that whatever you want. All right, I'm just kind of getting into it now. All right, yeah. All right, quiet at a stream, and I get it. As the projection model goes on, it's much more me staring at the screen, writing formulas, and then occasionally mentioning what formula I'm doing. So that's probably not as fun as when we first started and we were talking about basic theory. But yeah, also my streams have been wild times because my schedule is such. But hopefully, watching this back in the future, you might find some use in it. If only it's for the link for the model as we continue to improve it. So let me know in the comments, DM me on Twitter, whatever you have to do, and I'm happy to answer all of them. All the formulas I'm using on this, by the way, like I've got 2-3 minute how-to videos. I'm using no fancy formulas. The trick normally becomes when you find, oh yeah, if you use the average of passing attempts for quarterback ones, that's not going to be close to what you need it to be because one or two quarterbacks have 50 and 60% passing attempts because they started halfway through the season. So now what do I do? Okay, well, I need to adjust the average for games played. And it's just another condition to a formula that's already pretty established. Some of those I see coming because they've happened to me so many times before, and some I haven't. And those are the kinks for working out of it now. But yeah, hopefully there's something interesting in this. I don't know. Sorry, the string quality, is mine. But I'm kind of enjoying it just because it's fun to get back into projections a little bit. It's been, I like the ease in here. I do have to speed up, though, hence all those hours I put in last night when not on stream to get us this far. And hopefully today we progress it a little bit further as well. So... yeah, I gotta skip it because I got stuff to be doing that I want to get out to you, or I got articles I want to write. I want to actually get projections out there of my own model, so you can all process those however you want. Yeah, but still, so technically day 3, really day 3.5 because I put in some extra work. But I think it's pretty vivid how quick and how far you can come just by starting it. Like I know, especially if you're starting from scratch with that blank Excel sheet we started with, some of these formulas, you've got an extra hour or two of work just to learn them. Well, 5 minutes to be honest, and then an hour or two to get pretty used to using them and comfortable with using them. But this is why projections are boring. This is why my continual attempt to create a model that people can use, or videos on how to do it, it's really just a grind. Name of the channel and all, of finding, oh, wait, that broke for this stupid little reason. All right, I'll add a condition in. Okay, now that's it. And then you go through and you manicure depth charts. If you want to create a projection model for everything, that's just a regression model. And you can do that, but it's just going through and step by step, creating samples, creating the regression tree. I want to do a video on a new way of creating regression models using Ridge and Lasso. I don't know how to say them. But I'm still not perfectly up to date on that. I'm learning myself. But even the simple linear regression model gets you further if you want to get more fancy with it. And we could do that for just PPR points. And as Tanho pointed out with the projection model 2 years ago, if you just use ranks to create an average points per game score, if you just want points per game, which is really the crux of everything, that does pretty well, because the average opinion, or the ADP, or however you want to see it, is what we're trying to beat. And we don't beat it by much often in terms of drafting rookies or creating projections. Just some of us are nerdy enough that we like seeing colors, I guess, as Jojo said. All right, so let me know or don't. And thanks again. I really appreciate it. I'm going to try and find the button that lets me get out of here. And I'll see you next time. I'm working again for another solid block. I'll try and get it in a morning stream before work one day. So that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. If not, we'll probably be back on Tuesday to do day 4/5 of creating a projection model from scratch. Hope to see you there. What time? Probably around the same time. It's either early morning, 8, 9 o'clock, 9, 10 o'clock, let's be fair. Or it's afternoon between 2 and 4 when I start. I try to at least give a day's notice, so pay attention to the Patreon and the Twitter feed, and I'll try my best to be as regular as I can, but you got to work. Unfortunately. Let me see here. Hey, look, I can change the colors of things. Look at this. Huh. Neat. Didn't even know this was here. Hey, sorry. Yeah, I'm getting out of here. Thanks again, and I will talk to you Tuesday latest, definitely. Don't know what time though. Probably in the afternoon, right now. Bye. Thanks again.